Hello everyone, my name is Winnie and I'm the MC of the webinar today. Welcome to CHINAPLAS 2022 Applications Online Forum. The theme of today is Sustainable Packaging Value Chain Towards a Circular Economy. Just a quick housekeeping before we get started. First of all, for a better listening experience, you are advised to mute your microphone. If you have any questions for our speakers during the webinar, please type them in the Zoom chat box. Our speakers will answer them at the end. In case you encounter any internet disruption during the webinar, please try to sign in again. There will be 3 sections in today's webinar. Upcoming, we will first start with individual sharing by our keynote speakers. Today, we are very much honored to have 4 guests from the industry to give us their insightful sharing. They are Mr. Henki Wibawa from World Packaging Organization, Mr. Mohammed bin Hashim from Daibochi Berhad, Ms. Rachel Jin from Enma Group, and Mr. Mark Wester from SABIC. After the individual sharing, we will have a panel discussion with our speakers and followed by a Q&A section. The first speaker of today is Mr. Henki Wibawa. Henki is currently the Vice President for Education at World Packaging Organization. He has more than 30 years of experience in market and business development and research across the packaging manufacturing industries. Now, we will pass the time over to Henki.
Well, thank you, Winnie, for introduction. And thank you for Excel that I'm having the chance to talk about the sustainable packaging value chain towards circular economy today. As my background that I've been more than 30 years in the packaging business, and I'm still passionate with this packaging field, especially in packaging development today. So if you look at the trends of our packaging market in every region of the world, that definitely that we see that the still a growing market, because in many countries, including China, Indonesia, that the increasing disposable income and purchasing power that make it the packaging is so needed. Especially if we're talking about the urbanization, the internet retailing, and how to make it the product more convenient. In many countries, smaller pack sizes very much important. And then the next very much important in this trend is the greater consumer awareness of health and wellness, especially during the pandemic situation today. So packaging has become much important again. So then we will talk about the situation today in very much become a hot topic, is a stronger influence of recycling and environmental issues. Then we have to be responsible in that. So then we come to talking about the design of sustainable design, how we redesign the packaging. It's an approach of creative production that intentionally reduces the environmental and social impact through the effective decision making. That is so important in this case. And that what I mean here is if we redesign the packaging, we have always keep in mind that don't couple unrecyclable material in that is in order to make it recyclability. So that is so much important. Secondly, that the as I mentioned, that the variety of product is getting much more today. So the functionality of the packaging today requires so much complexity. So the functionality have to be reimagined always. How to replace the existing material with the recyclable material. And then, last but not least, which I always warn our audience, that avoiding accidental greenwashing. Nothing to believe that if everyone talking about certain material is so environmental friendly, but what they mean with environmental friendly. But if that is not usable, if not usable, then you have to litter. You just throw away. This is what we call greenwashing. So life cycle thinking is so important. It's a way of thinking that includes the whole holistic approach, economical, environmental, and social consequences of the product and process over the entire life. This is so important that we have to consider that we are talking about the optimizing the life cycle of the product. In that particular case, is about the packaging. So we are always using the kind of method life cycle assessment, the LCA, because there we have to consider from the upstream, up to the downstream. The upstream, that means that how we create the material, how we make the material, and then we manufacture that, and then up to the post-consumer waste. The whole that we have to consider, that we have to assess that the how about the carbon emission, how the energy consumption, how about the water consumption, and then how we manage the post-consumer waste. That is so important in this case. And then, if we're talking about the recycling, the best way is to do it upcycling. What does that mean? The upcycling, that means that once we recycle the material, that we can reuse it again. This become renewable material, and the renewable material that we can reduce the resources from our planet as well, and that we reduce also the carbon emission. So that is the upcycling is the best way how to do, but this is needed high technology in this case. So the plastic pollution is always become a hot topic today, as I mentioned. So plastic pollution is a self-made problem of humankind because we consume too much plastic, in fact. But why we consume too much plastic? Because plastic, in that case, is always become so important that you can make it in very, very valuable packaging, because you can make it the best shape, the best functionality, and then the best protection in that case, but still in a very low cost. And that is why so much plastic has been used in the packaging. But then it's also that our recycling technology currently is insufficient. And not only the technology, but also how we manage the waste. And this is the complication of that is how we collect, how we separate, how we segregate the whole waste stream in order to recycle in the best way. So littering is also a habit of our consumers, that we have to educate, not only putting into our earth, into our planet, to the river or the ocean, but also that we have to make it the infrastructure, how we collect and how we go into the right waste stream. So recycling is a very much important, and I believe that is part of the circular economy that I'm talking about. So back to the function of the packaging. That is, I said, so complexity today. So, but the basic is again is a protection. The protection of a product like water, like liquid, and so on. Without the bottle, how can you do that, right? So that beside the protection in the consumer information, today we make it a smart packaging with a QR code and other kind of barcoding, that in order to have a very good supply chain, what we call resilient of our supply chain. That is so important today. So then how to resource efficient, in that case, that means energy, carbon emission, and so on. This is in the logistic way. So in portioning, handling, and marketing. That is the basic actually. Then we have to make it the eco design in order really going into circular economy. And that means that the how we manage to make it efficient using the resources and then the material that we use so efficient and renewable in terms of raw material. So climate protection because of that, because the carbon emission that we can save, then transport distance because the energy consumption that we also can use, can reduce, and then the whole infrastructure, the way of policy that we have to make the kind of recycling is become so important in order really to optimize the whole waste separation. So free of toxic substance because after we recycle, that the material still could be a food safe. That is the whole complex, the holistic approach of the eco design. And to optimize the packaging, we have to make it as little as possible, but much as necessary. So that means that it's not too little, it's not too much. So in order that we really can manage to be optimum, that is so important in this case. Then I give you just for example, multinational company, they have a pledges that they have a roadmap in order to use the recycling material back into the packaging with certain target, and this is in order also they do it as extended producer responsibility. So the other homework that we have to do, like in Indonesia, is regarding our end station of the waste. And the waste is not only plastic in this case, but also regarding the whole waste actually. Then this is the method that how we find the waste solution, the best waste solution in this case. And that I end up my presentation by saying this motto: collaboration. We have to collaborate. Innovation. We have to innovate our technology, and acceleration. We have to speed up our working to save our planet. Thank you very much. And I giving back to Winnie. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanky, for giving us more ideas on the direction towards circular economy. If you have any questions for Hanky, please type them in the Zoom chat box. May I please introduce our second speaker, Mr. Mohammed bin Hashim. Mohammed is the General Manager of the Product Development and Technical at Daiboshi Berhad. He has been working extensively on sustainable plastic packaging solutions for multi-layer laminates and creating solutions and practical application to this subject. Mohammed, over to you.
Thank you, Winnie. Good day, everyone. I'm Mohammed from Daiboshi Berhad, member of Syntex Group. And today I'm going to talk about a sustainable packaging value chain towards a circular economy. Before going forward, just a bit of myself. I joined the company in 1993. So now I'm the General Manager of the Product Development and Technical. I've been with this position since year 2000. And this sustainable packaging solution has been my focus in the past 5 years. Working with multinationals with their regional offices, their global technical center, in their quest to make sure that by 2025, all their packaging is from a sustainable and recyclable packaging, moving towards circular economy. And also a bit of Daiboshi. Daiboshi belongs to Syntex Group, a much bigger group that we also have factories producing our own film, factories producing OPP, LDP, and CPP films. Okay. So let me start my presentation. Before moving forward, as I say, based on our experience, based on the work that I've done with all my customers for the past 5 years, I divided sustainable solution or circular economy solutions into 4 different pillars. Okay, some other company may have different options, but where we supply most of our customer is 95% of our customer is actually food manufacturer. So the focus of the sustainable solution, we can actually divide into 4 different pillars. Okay, what are the pillars? Pillar number 1, we are talking about mono-material laminates. Pillar number 2, we talk about paper-based laminates. Pillar number 3, we talk about compostable and biodegradable laminates. And pillar number 4, which is the most exciting pillar for me, where we are talking about chemical recycle, post-consumer recycling. Okay, because this pillar, the 4th pillar, we actually give the closest look, you know, when we talk about circular economy. Okay, a bit explanation about mono-material laminates. Okay, so most of the laminates or the laminates that we have, or the packaging currently we have in the market, is actually made up of what I call multi-material, multi-layer laminates. Okay, so as a first part of moving towards sustainable solution, we need to convert this multi-material into a mono-material laminates. Okay, why we have to do that? Because by having a mono-material laminates, you actually increase the opportunity for you to recycle. Okay, it's easier to recycle when your waste is actually based on mono-material laminates. That's number 1. Also, second thing, if the plastic waste is made up of mono-material laminates, even if you go into chemical recycling or mechanical recycling, especially chemical recycling, the yield of the pyrolysis oil actually will be very high if your plastic waste is made up of mono-material laminates. Okay, so mono-material laminates, you can be either mono-PP, which is monopolypropylene, mono-PE, which is monopolyethylene, and a monopolyolefin, which is a combination of PP and PE. To qualify this, most of my multinational customer, they have their own definitions. Okay, even if you go to European, they have what they call a CFlex, where they have a definition of what mono-material laminates. In general, when you talk about mono-material laminates, 90% of the laminate has to be of the product that you're claiming. Okay, for example, if you say that I'm using mono-PP laminates, 90% of the product has to be PP. Same with mono-PE and monopolyolefin, 90% of the laminates has to be either polyethylene or polyolefin. Then the 10% can be the adhesive, the inks, some special material like EVOH or whatsoever, but 90% has to be either PP, PE, or polyolefin. Okay, we have actually many success stories, many commercial applications, you know, in this mono-material. Due to some proprietary and some sensitivity of the customer, I'm not able to share the actual design or actual customer that we have launched this. But in mono-PP, we actually have launched a lot of mono-PP or mono-material laminates in the tea leaves, you know, in the brick packaging, in the potato chips, you know, or some milk powder or chocolate powder. We're actually able to convert it into a mono-PP with the technology that we have in our metallized OPP and the sealant film that we have. We also have a lot of success in mono-PE, changing polyester LLDPE, nylon LLDPE into our MDO-PE LLDPE options or PEP options. And recently, one of the biggest success we have is we have converted a lot of stick packs, you know, all the beverages, you know, 3-in-1s, we are converted into a multi-material into a monopolyolefin laminates. You can see this a lot in Southeast Asia, especially in Malaysia, Thailand, you know, that I know of. Okay, so a lot of work is being done. If you want to talk about more detailed, more specific project, do contact me after this. Okay. Second pillar, we're going to talk about paper-based laminate. Now, paper-based laminate, it can be secondary packaging, it can be non-barrier primary packaging, it can be primary packaging with barrier. We have a lot of success, a lot of commercialization with the first two types, which is the secondary packaging and non-barrier primary packaging. But at the same time, I have a lot of development work, you know, with global R&D center of my customer to convert or to develop what we call a primary packaging paper-based laminate with barrier. So we're going to come up soon a metallized paper that have the same or slightly lower barrier performance if you compare to the current plastic laminates. Okay, so those are WRP or work in progress. Recently, we have launched a paper-based laminate for secondary packaging in Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So all this you can see in the market. Just a bit of note. Paper-based laminate is actually quite important in certain countries. Like my customer, one of my customers mentioned when they go to countries like Papua New Guinea or Fiji, you don't even want to talk about recycling facility, or the recycling technology. The existing or the recycling itself is not there even for plastics. So in that scenario, paper packaging become more important, because paper, even without proper recycling, it will be decomposed. It will degrade much faster if you compare to plastic. So in certain countries, paper-based is become the preferred choice compared to the mono material or the plastic laminates. Okay. But, there is also a solution called compostable or biodegradable. Normally, compostable or biodegradable actually how you differentiate is mainly on the degradation process. Okay, where compostable, it will biodegrade, but it will not give any negative impact to the environment. Compared to biodegradable, it will biodegrade, but at some occasion, it will give certain bad impact to the environment. Okay, how do we classify compostable biodegradable laminates? Mainly, it's made up of three main plastic main films. Will be the paper, it will be the cellophane with the compostable certificate, or it is the bio-based sealant. For example, we are supplying bio-based sealant made up of bio-PBS. So it can be a combination of cellophane with bio-PBS, paper with bio-PS, or you combine all these three, all this depending on the performance expectation that is needed by the consumer. Okay. Currently, we are supplying some compostable laminates to Europe to pack some nuts and some energy bar. Mainly is made up of cellophane with bio-PBS. Okay. So my last pillar, okay, this is to me is one of the most important pillar, which is what I call a post-consumer recycling. Okay. In PCR, we actually can divide into two different recycling methods. One is mechanical PCR, one is advanced or chemical recycling PCR. Okay, so a bit of definition. When you do mechanical recycling, actually you breaking up the polymers or the plastic into polymer level. Okay, so after you break this into polymer level, you actually downgrading the resin. Okay, you downgrade the resin, and whatever you have PCR from this mechanical recycler, most of them will be for non-food contact packaging. Okay, so not preferred choice, but some application where you don't really need food contact packaging, this you can start using this mechanical PCR. So when we talk about chemical or advanced recycling, the main difference is actually the breaking down. You actually the process of breaking down the polymers, you actually break it down into a monomer or molecular level. You break it down right to the building blocks of the polymer or the monomers of the polymer. Okay, so as a result, you have a pyrolysis oil, which is very similar to the fossil feedstock that you have now, and you can combine this and produce a resin or PCR resin, same as a virgin resin performance. Okay, so when you're able to do that, the packaging that using this chemical PCR laminates will be able to qualify for food contact packaging. So these are the two main difference. So if you go into chemical advance or chemical or chemical recycling, sorry, you have to use this mass balance concept, the concept for chain of custody, where all the players, from the recycled plastic waste, the recycler, the resin manufacturer, the film producer, the packaging converters has to be certified by ISCC with what we call a ISCC plus certificate. Okay, if you have this, then only you can claim yourself to produce a chemical recycle PCR laminates. Okay, a bit more detail about this PCR. Okay, we start off. I will start off with waste management. Where we collect all the plastic waste. All the hard to recycle mixed plastic waste will be collected. Okay, and it will go into a chemical recycling process, or what we call a pyrolysis process. Okay, it will be heat up to very high temperature. After certain process, it will become pyrolysis oil. So from waste management, pyrolysis process, you have a pyrolysis oil feedstock. Okay, this pyrolysis oil will be very similar to fossil oil feedstocks. You combine these two and you send this to your naphtha cracker. Okay, after the naphtha cracker, you will have ethylene and propylene gas, which is very, very, very close or equivalent to the ethylene and propylene gas made up from fossil oil feedstock. Okay, so these two gases you can also send to the polymerization plant, and you can make as a final result you have a PT or a PE resin, which is very, very similar to the virgin resin. So there's a cycle. If you can see, there's a cycle keep going on. No, so there is no landfill, there is no downgrade of resin if we talk about chemical PCR process. Okay, just to give you a big idea. So this is what I call closing the loop, or this is the most complete circular economy solutions that you're going to have. Okay, so it started with resin producer. You have your fossil, your crude oil, we produce into resin, send to us. We will make it into films and converter. We send the laminates. So the consumer will start using it, and then we collect the plastic waste. So then this cycle starts, So the recycle will collect this and make it into pyrolysis oil, and then it will start the cycle. So this pyrolysis oil, it will go back into a PCR resin. Then we will use it in our film, and then it goes back to the consumer, and it's keep on circling in this cycle, or what we call circular economy. So chemical PCR resin is one of the most complete solution and the most important solution, but I have to admit it is at a very infant stage, very high price, very low volume available, but please watch these options. This will be the next level of circular economy in times to come. Okay, with that, I end my presentation. Thank you, and I pass back to Winnie for the next speaker. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed, for your remarks on the sustainable solution for plastic packaging. If you have any questions for Mohammed, please type down in the Zoom chat box. Now, I would like to introduce our third speaker, Ms. Rachel Jin. Rachel is the Marketing Director of Anma Group. She joined Anma Group in 2014 with her great enthusiasm in the plastic recycling field, leading Anma Group deeply entering the world of plastic packaging. Rachel, over to you.
Thank you, Winnie, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Jin. I'm responsible for marketing work at Anma Group Company, which is specially in producing plastic recycling machinery for about 30 years. I'm glad to join with you for this plastic and packaging webinar. Welcome to Anma's world of plastic recycling. This is our company logo. The word "votre succès" is a French word meaning your success. We just want to support you to get big success in the recycling circulation business. Now let us discuss something in details of sustainable packaging machinery of film material recycling. Do you still throw the waste when you unwrap the cargoes, or you throw the unqualified packaging materials produced at your factory directly? Please stop it in the future, because all the wastes could be transferred to values, which could be used to make new plastic resins as raw material once again. The earth is full of too much waste pollution that we have to do something together to make the world environment cleaner and save the more and more treasure energy in the coming days. Normally, plastic packaging material includes many different kinds of package films, bottles, strips, cans, and so on. Like the pictures showing and more related such materials as well. They are mainly from the post-consumption collected from shopping malls, electronic manufacturers, express logistic companies, and beverage producers. The packaging materials are transported in bales to centralized recovery plant. And usually, the recycling procedure is sorting first, then through the shredding, granulating, washing, drying, mixing, and finally pelletizing to get post-consumer resin. The recycled plastic pellets can be used to produce pipes, different bags, sheets, household applicants, and agricultural products. On the other hand, the unqualified plastic products at factory are also could be used again and then processed is much easier than central recovery plant because the material is pure and clean. Online recycling is for film or sheet at trimming during manufacturing, and offline is generally for unqualified product recycling. Cutting big size of material to small, transporting to final production line, thus to save much cost on the raw material, realizing the waste to value. There is the big project of home recycling lines in Thailand named Suez. They have 3 complete LDPE film recycling lines, which produce more than 30,000 tons of PCR pellets annually. Suez Environment Group is the largest waste disposal company in the world with 130-year-old. Let's see the video of introduction for packaging recycling solution from Suez.
Every year, 300 million tons of plastics are produced, but 50% are used just once and ended up thrown away. Over 8 million tons of plastic waste enter the ocean. In Thailand, of the 2 million tons of plastic waste produced each year, only 1/4 is recycled. Suez built and commissioned a circular polymer plant in the year 2020. The facility is dedicated to low-density polyethylene, LDPE plastic recycling, and is one of the largest of its kind in Thailand. Low-density polyethylene LDPE, or linear low-density polyethylene LLDPE, like that found in Thai shopping malls, express logistics companies, beverage producers, and electronics manufacturers, is delivered in bales to the plant. After a quality check and manual removal of contaminants, they are sent for processing on 3 production lines. By leveraging on our technological expertise and experience in plastic recycling, as well as the expertise of specialists from our own plastic laboratory in France, we ensure that new recycled plastics are consistently high in quality and comparable to virgin plastic. In this way, we can also formulate compounds according to individual customer-specific recipes. Annually, our facility converts 30,000 tons of plastic film waste into high-quality post-consumer resin, PCR. The recycled plastics can be used to produce piping, trash bags, sheeting, and films for building and agricultural applications and other products.
Suez is a centralized recovery plant for the waste material. Let's see one more customer case of China in Zhejiang province, Parita Packing Company. It is the online crushing and recycling case. Considering that the film and trimming material is clean, we designed a system to transport the trimming to the granulator when the film is produced. Then, the crushed film is blown to the big storage tank through pipes. The pelletizing line extrudes the resin to produce the film once again, thus builds into the waste circulation at factory. This 3D layout is for showing the whole plastic recycling machinery lines. The lower one consists of conveying, pre-cutting, metal separator, secondary cutting, granulating, transporting, and storage system. The upper one is even easier. These two lines are the central lines recovery normally for treating wastes that are not so much dirty. Sometimes customers prefer to loading baled films by forklift or handling machine. This picture is for the online and offline recycling machine layout, including the pelletizing machine to gain a final resin product. The left one is the extruder to produce the packaging film. The trimming are transported to the granulator at the same time. That means online recycling. The right one is the film to be fed in bulk or roller status, and then to the storage tank and pelletizer. That means offline recycling. Emma recycling machinery started from plastic shredder and granulator 30 years ago in France, and then to develop the plastic washing machine, transporting machine, and pelletizing machine to gain a whole recycling line, just like turnkey project to customers on machines. We design and combine single machines to build one circulation line according to each customer special requirement. This is a transporting machine of belt conveyor and pipe conveyor. Meanwhile, we also equip the cutter at the piping transporting to higher the recycling line efficiency. This picture is the single shaft shredder, especially for cutting the material like packaging film and bottles, which should make big bales to less than 80 mm outputting size. And then the shred 80 mm material is transported to granulator for fine outputting size, normally to 10 to 15 mm. Sometimes the bales are too big or some weights are too difficult to be cut through single shaft shredder. The pressure cutting of multi-shaft shredder is necessary to be equipped. Actually, the energy saving is very important now all over the world. More and more customers have this requirement to us, so we designed the shredder and the granulator combined machine to save energy and space for the whole recycling project. Emma supplier, resource, recycling, and the regeneration technology. We established the company in Lyon, France in 1990. The company established a branch in Shanghai, China in 2008. We also have a lot of sales partners in different countries, including the United States, Japan, the UK, Poland, Spain, Germany, and so on. Our recycling resolution is not only in the field of sustainable plastic packaging, but also involved in other plastic industries, paper, wood, household, applicants, electronic, and tires. Here is our contact information of Emma China branch. Our headquarters is still located in France, in charging of R&D and mail technology. The main production plant is in Shanghai, China. If you have any interest or questions on the plastic recycling, please do not hesitate to contact Thomas or Rachel through email and cell phone. We also welcome your visiting to our website to get more product information and videos of recycling cases. Finally, thank you so much for your watching. Let's pass the time to Winnie.
Thank you, Rachel, for introducing solutions and technology for recycling. If you have any questions for Rachel, please type them in the Zoom chat box. May I now introduce the last speaker of today, Mr. Mark Wester. Mark is SABIC's global leader for circular economy. He joined SABIC in 2002 and subsequently held various roles in business and strategy, and is driving their True Circle initiatives. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Winnie, for your introduction. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here and to talk to you a little bit about some of our global challenges and how, as an industry, but also as a company at SABIC, we are trying to address these challenges. If we look at the mega trends that are affecting our industry, then there's multiple. And these challenges are huge and they may be overwhelming. But we also have to realize that these challenges are sometimes related to each other, and also the solutions to address them are sometimes also related to each other. And we do believe that the plastics and the plastics industry can contribute to many of the challenges that we face as a society. In the end, plastics are a wonderful material. They are unique in terms of their properties and bring many advantages. In fact, they make modern life possible. If we just think of the lightweighting of cars, the protection of food, their application in terms of medical and healthcare, and the safety they bring to consumers, it's an amazing material. If you would have to replace them with other materials, you would use a multiple of the amount, you would use a multiple of the energy to create them, and you would create much more waste. So plastics have big advantages, and yet there are issues to be solved. Plastics still too often end up in the environment. So what are we doing as an industry and as SABIC to address these challenges? In 2019 in SABIC, we have put in place a program that we call True Circle. It's our trademark, our umbrella name for our circular solutions. It has designed for recyclability, to create products with more recycled content, for example, or that are easier to recycle. It has mechanically recycled solutions in its program, but also newer additions, like products coming from advanced recycling, our so-called certified circular polymers that are made from mixed plastic waste, or our certified renewable solutions that are made from waste streams that are not in competition with food, renewable waste streams, but also closed loop initiatives, working differently together as a value chain. So let me first talk a little bit more about certified circular solutions. In fact, what we are doing here is we are replacing feedstocks. We are replacing fossil feedstock with, for example, feedstocks made from mixed plastics. And it's the same with renewables, by the way. Also there, we are replacing the traditional fossil feedstock with a second generation renewable feedstock, for example, from forestry waste. And the unique thing is that you make products with the same quality. The brands, the examples you see here on this page are reality. They are available in the market, commercially available, made from these new kinds of feedstocks. So it is possible to create this circular plastics value chain with the same quality. And not just the same quality, but also offering the same safety to the consumer. So it's fully compliant with regulation, and it has the same safe properties as the plastics that we are used to, derived from naphtha feedstock, but here in this case made from circular or renewable feedstock. So you can imagine the big advantages this brings to the industry. So how do we deliver that? How do we make this circular operation? You are probably all familiar with the concept of mechanical recycling, where you take used plastics and you sort them, you grind them, you may wash them, and then you make in most cases, a blend or a compound with virgin materials to create new products from mechanical recycling. Well, there's a new loop, which we then call advanced recycling, where we go one step back further in the chain, and where we produce a liquid from mixed plastic waste through a process called pyrolysis. And this liquid, this pyrolysis oil, has similarities with naphtha. And you have to treat it, but then after treatment, you can use it, for example, in your steam cracker. And that means that you go through the same steam cracker, you go through the same polymer plant, so you make the same product with the same quality in the end. And this is where then these advantages over mechanical recycling come from. The good thing is that by introducing advanced recycling next to mechanical recycling, so these two options are complementary. By introducing that, we create a more circular industry that prevents mixed plastic waste from going to incineration, or even worse, to landfill, and even worse, from leaking into the environment. The way we introduce that in our process, naphtha crackers typically are processes that consume several million tons of feedstock. Now, the scale of this recycling technology is not there yet. We are producing smaller amounts, and therefore we have to blend that with existing fossil feedstocks. And in order to trace these materials through our processes, we introduce a concept called a mass balance chain of custody. For every 1 kiloton of fossil feedstock that we replace with non-fossil feedstock, we attach certificates to them, and these certificates then end up as certificates for the polymers that we sell in the market. And 1 kiloton of certified non-fossil feedstock ends up as 1 kiloton of certified polymers sold in the market. This is a scheme adopted from ISCC Plus that traces the whole value chain from the feedstock all the way down to the converter. So the whole value chain is certified and independently audited in order to make sure that there is full transparency and full compliance with the certification scheme. In the Netherlands, SABIC, in a joint venture with our partner Plastic Energy, have started the construction of the world's first commercial unit. The first commercial unit that will be built next to a naphtha cracker and that will directly feed the naphtha cracker. This is a big step forward, and it helps to bring materials to the market and to let the market get used to this new kind of solution, but also to let the regulator get used to this new kind of solution, such that going forward there will be supportive and harmonized regulation that allows us to scale this kind of process even further. This first project in Geleen is expected to become operational in the second half of 2022. I also mentioned earlier, under the umbrella of True Circle, that we also work on closed loop initiatives. No single company can transform this value chain by itself. We also have to get to learn to work differently together in a circular economy. SABIC did an experiment together with a UK retailer, Tesco, where Tesco collected post-consumer flexible packaging from their consumers, allowing them to bring it back to their stores. This material was then transformed by Plastic Energy into pyrolysis oil. SABIC uses the pyrolysis oil to make polymers. Sealed Air converts the polymers into packaging, which is then used by Bradburys to package their cheese, which is then sold on the shelf at Tesco. This was made reality last year, and this has been so much appreciated by the market that Tesco has decided to scale this up to all their UK retail outlets. So collaboration is key. This is the only way for us to make the plastics value chain circular. We have to work together among producers in associations, but we also have to work along the value chain together. all the way from the collection of used plastics down to the conversion and the transformation of used plastics and recycled plastics into new applications, but also with the regulator and the consumer. And because in the end, the consumer needs to understand what we do, and the regulator needs to make sure that there is supportive regulation that allows us to do it. This is the only way that we can scale up recycling and advanced recycling big time, and we can help to create a more circular economy. Thank you for your attention, and I would like to give it back to Winnie.
Thank you, Mark, for your highlights on achieving circularity for plastic through value chain collaboration. If you have any questions for Mark, please type down in the Zoom chat box. Before we move on to the next section, we would like to invite all the audiences to spare 1 minute with us for a quick survey. After this survey, we shall start the panel discussion. Thank you for your time. Now we will move on to the second section, panel discussion, moderated by Hanky, together with 3 panelists, Mohammed, Rachel, and Mark. Hanky, over to you, please.
Okay, I can start. So to continue our session after the keynote speech, and now we come to the panel discussion, and I would like to hear from all the panelists about your insider perspective in regards to circular economy, and especially on plastic packaging, of course. And we are now in ASEAN countries are really doing a lot of initiative and efforts in regards to this definitely hot topic and issues. So the first question that I will raise up to all the panel, maybe I need also only for the first question from the 2 panelists that I want to hear from you. The first question I will raise up that since we are in the ASEAN, what are the upcoming challenges are facing in ASEAN while achieving the significant reduction of plastic use in 2030? So maybe the first question I would pass on to Mr. Mohammed, please.
Thanks, Helki. Okay, for me, I've been working with this for the past 4 or 5 years, as I say. If we're talking about brand owners, converters, film supplier, I see the push and the effort is very aggressive. So I don't see any issue, no, to achieve the target in 2030. But I do see more effort, can be made by the local brands, in each ASEAN countries, and also if the extra push from the government, I think that will make the target, achieving the target much faster, So if everything, the MNCs, the converters, the film, which we are doing very well now, coupled with the local brands and the government, I think the target, I'm not surprised if we can achieve earlier than 2030. Okay, back to you, Mr. Haki.
Maybe you have another opinion, Rachel? Would you give your answer, please?
I think that Mr. Mark is the professional in this field. So I would like to invite him to answer this question. Thank you.
Mark, maybe you have your opinion in regards, please?
Yes, well, when I think of a reduction target, I always ask myself, why do you try to reduce something? Reducing plastics as a goal for me, I wonder whether it's the right goal. Plastics add a lot of value. When you have to replace them with other materials, they come with a different footprint. They generate more waste. You need more energy to produce them. So I always think that reducing footprint is probably a better target to set yourself. Of course, plastics should not end up in the environment. That's clear. And in order to prevent that, what you need to put in place is proper regulation that stimulates recycling. You need to educate people, and you need to put in place infrastructure that allows you to collect and to sort plastics for reuse. That's my take on this.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I would really appreciate what the two of you already giving the answer. I think the main points that we are talking about, like Mohammed was saying, that the collaboration. So collaborative initiative is very, very much, in this case, very important. And Mark is also underlined this one. We are not only talking about the solution of the post-consumer waste, but we have to do it as a holistic approach, including the life cycle analysis and so on, regarding the carbon footprint and so on. So I think this is the best approach that we have to do also here in this region in ASEAN. So I come to the next question. What do you think the new opportunity raised in ASEAN, especially in ASEAN region, while achieving this significant reduction of plastic? What is the opportunities that you will see in this case? Maybe Mohammed, please.
I think the push of this reducing packaging or reducing this target in 2030, it will make at the end it will make the waste management, will be much better. I mean, we have to see, we have to admit the waste management in this region is a bit behind compared to the Europes and in the US. So I think at the end it will create awareness. It will create technologies that make at the end the recycling, the full circular economy of plastic packaging will be realized. I think that is one of the main push that we can have apart from this after this program. Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you, Mohammed. Rachel, you have, okay, please.
Thank you. As we all know, cost of all the world energy is rising. The purchasing price of new plastic packaging raw materials will also grow. So the reduction and recycling becoming more and more important. It is not easy because normally consumers just throw away the plastic packaging material directly, which makes the earth extremely pollution. If the plastics can be recycled, reduced, and reused, the environment will be much better and cleaner in Asia. Meanwhile, all the plastic packaging manufacturers can save the raw material cost a lot when they use the recycled material through recycling machinery. Thank you, Mr. Hakim.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, okay, yes, that's true. That's the opportunity that we are seeing, that the technology will be really developed in this case, and we need that, especially we are talking about the whole circular economy supply chain. Again, as a total solution that we have to not only recycle but also reuse it. So this is what we call upcycle. That is in order not only not talking about the waste management, but also talking about the resources management that we have to also reduce. And what Mark was saying that in the first place that regarding the carbon footprint. And I think recycled material is a lot of saving in the carbon emission. I think. Okay, so I come to the third question that what do you think in this region again? What the role of the policymaker, in this case, of course, the government institution, can play the facilitating in reduction of plastic packaging waste? Maybe I would raise up to Mark first, please. Mark.
Yes, on that one, I believe that the role of the policymaker is to put in place harmonized and supportive legislation that is supportive of recycling and of a circular economy. And for me, that means also that we have to prevent putting in place bans on certain products, because bans typically have side effects that you never intended. So we have seen that in the cases of bans on plastic bags, for example, which are then replaced by paper bags, which have a poorer footprint than plastic bags. So bans on single products are never good. That needs to be prevented. And I think taxes as well, because taxes take away money that cannot be invested in innovation and creating a more circular economy. Typically, taxes never return the money in the form of an improved infrastructure, which is another role that the regulator has to make sure that he is supportive of.
Thank you, Mark. Maybe Mohammed, you will add on regarding this matter?
I think what Mark said hit the nail, on the head. Is to the point that I think the government should be doing in this region. Okay, so on top of that, if I may add, the government also need to facilitate, the technology. They need to promote this technology of recycling, and how can we make the yield of recycling better? So and we say, and also sometimes it's possible to move from plastic to paper. That also should be encouraged. Okay, and I think apart from all this, what the government can do, so they should provide some tax incentive, like Mark said, not to introduce new taxes, but to reduce taxes if you achieve certain KPI. So I think that can be done. For example, if you achieve certain percentage of your waste is not going to landfill, you should have certain tax incentive. You should pay a certain percentage of lesser tax. That I think should make the changes much faster, because if people can relate the effort to monetary gains, things by all means I think will move much faster.
Sure. Thank you, Mohammed. Yes, indeed. I fully agree with that. That our government, our policymaker, not only generate the legislation, but it's really to how to implement it in order that we also doing it in a good or best practice to support the whole efforts that we have to do. In that case, of course, a combination of all the regarding funding, in that case, taxes that we need incentives, and it also to facilitate the whole infrastructure, of course. Yeah, the infrastructure that we have to build up, and that is not a part of only our as the private sector, but also the policymaker have to do that, right? Thank you. So I come to the next question that we start already. Do you think how to balance the sustainability? Sustainability is our aim now. It's a very important aim now. How do you balance the sustainability with the cost that we are doing the packaging, for example, and then how and how the performance in our plastic packaging in this particular balance efforts with that. Maybe this question I will raise to Mark first again, please.
Okay, thank you. Interesting question. And when we take a step back, performance is key. I think you cannot accept a lower performance because packaging typically, when you think of the value of goods that we package and the footprint associated with the products is often much larger than the footprint of packaging. Just think of food packaging, where the footprint of the food is much higher than of the packaging. That's why I think that performance is key and cannot be compromised. So when you have to keep the same performance and then you have to make a trade-off between cost and sustainability, then there can be occasions where a more sustainable solution could lead to more cost. It's not a necessity, but I think that is where the trade-off needs to be made. And increasingly we see that sustainability also becomes a requirement. And that means that cost will be a consequence. So I can imagine that as a consequence, cost can go up, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes a more circular, more sustainable solution can have a lower cost. But I think in the end, with quality set as a prerequisite, I think that it will be a trade-off between cost and sustainability mostly.
Sure, thank you. Maybe Rachel, you want to give your answer to that, please?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Henke. Actually, I think almost all the plastic packaging material could be recycled to the same raw material. The performance is relatively same of new material. Companies recycle the plant offline or online plastic packaging, or centralized company deal with the recycling process in big quantity and turn it into raw material to continue to manufacture packaging products. Thus greatly reduce the cost of raw materials, and they can recover the cost investment on the recycling equipment in a very short time. Through crushing, washing, and pelletizing, it can be used as plastic packaging raw materials to produce the packaging product. Finally, to achieve the purpose of sustainable plastic packaging, my opinion is using the recycled plastic packaging material performance is just to save the cost, and the recycling process is to achieve the sustainability. And this is my sharing. Thank you very much, Mr. Henke.
Thank you, Rachel. You want to add on a little bit, Mohammed, because I know Daibochi is one of the long experience in terms of the development of flexible packaging, especially. Please.
Maybe I want to add as what to Mark said, whatever changes, the performance need to be maintained, whatever solution you provided, you must take care of the challenges, So in order to take care of those challenges by changing from multi-material or non-recyclable to sustainable packaging, there's a lot of improvement need to be done, a lot of modification need to be done, to the packaging itself, But all this can be done. I see the technology now is available, okay? But one of the big issue is like what I say is the cost, But the cost is for me is a chicken and egg thing, Why is it more costly? Because whatever we're doing now is so new. Yeah. The volume is still very little.
Yeah.
I'm talking the whole chain. Even talk about circular economy. In order to produce those PCR or PRR, you need plastic waste. Which itself no matter how easy it sounds, it's not as available as it sounds, you know, because it doesn't collect plastic waste in ASEAN, you know, as compared to metal or paper, you know. So volume of the packaging material, sustainable packaging material that being used, we need to increase that. Volume of the waste managed, you know, collected waste, we also need to increase that, you know. So those go up, costs will come down. No? Once costs come down, will be available to more wider range of plastic user, of food manufacturers, you know. Food manufacturer consists majority of our customer. So I think we have to balance that. The faster we balance all this, the more we can change the market.
Thank you, Mohammed. So we come up to wrap up. I think we only have because of the time limitation, of course, only about 1 minute. Maybe a short message from you in regards to the sustainable packaging that we have to develop in the future, and in regards to the trend that you know that today is everywhere, including in our region, is regarding the e-commerce. I see that it's not really doing well in terms of the e-commerce. In terms of the question about the sustainable packaging. Maybe Mark, you want to give a very short message on that, please.
I think that all new technologies, including e-commerce and digitization, need to be embraced and can be very helpful in creating a circular plastics value chain that is transparent and that people can also rely and depend on, that we are creating the best possible plastics industry, which is delivering on the lowest footprint and therefore the most sustainable.
Thank you, Mark. Mohammed, maybe?
Okay, I think education and technical know-how is important. You know, all over the world, people are talking about sustainable packaging, circular economy. You know, you'll be surprised that some of the food producer or even some of the converter in this region, they don't have a clear idea what is sustainable packaging, what is circular economy. So I think the technical know-how, the education is important. You must get everyone aligned. This is our objective, and everyone moving towards that. You know, so once everyone become more educated and know what they should do, then I think, as I say, we can change the region much faster. So important education to me.
Thank you, Mohammed. I think our time is really already finished. Very much inspiring that what we hear today from all the expertise. I'm very much thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hanky, Mohammed, Rachel, and Mark for the sharing. We hope that all the audiences have a more holistic view of current trends, challenges, and future opportunities to achieve a circular economy. Here comes to our last section, Q&A. I see that our audiences have raised some questions. The first question is for Rachel. The question is, what is the market development trend of recycling machinery in ASEAN in 5 years? Rachel, please.
Okay, thank you, Winnie. I think plastic recycling industry is very important to solve the problem of waste plastics. As the global consumption of plastic increases year by year, ASEAN effectively promotes the increase of plastic recycling and solve the problem of plastic pollution. Recycling machinery is the tool to turn plastic from waste to treasure. So in the next 5 years, the demand of plastic recycling equipment will greatly increase, and the development trend cannot be underestimated. Thank you. Pass to Winnie.
Thank you, Rachel. And here's the question for Hanky. The question is, our medical team would like to understand what are the sustainability trends in pharma packaging, especially in Asia. Hanky, please.
Oh, thank you. The question is a very challenging question, actually. As you know, the pharmaceutical packaging is a very stringent in terms of criteria, functionality, especially, of course, at first regarding hygienic, and then you have a good manufacturing practice, and then regarding the barrier in order that the pharma product, the medicine, is still really keep in the real and the good quality. At present, most of the if you're talking about the blister packaging, which is the most we can find in the druggery. Actually, this is still use of alufoil. But as long as the most important, as long as the monomaterial, as a monomaterial, for example, like right now, for that kind of blister, you can have in pharma packaging that you can have it so-called the alu blister, so-called in a cold form. We call it in cold form, in order that to keep the medicine really in a good quality. That is fine. This is a monomaterial, aluminum, but still you can recycle and reuse it again. And then regarding the other combining with the material like PVC. PVC, for example, still a lot in the pharma packaging, but unfortunately, PVC is very much difficult also to be recycled because of the melting point is so low. That's why, and beside of course, the other affected during the recycling process. So, in that particular purpose, that we have to replace with the other material that is already started, actually, again with polyolefin, that might be possible, that you can replace it. And then the question regarding the barrier, we have a lot of coating and so on, so that is possible to replace that. But this is still challenging. Of course, I believe that we have also to continuing to do in redesign that kind of pharma packaging in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanky. And here is the question from Mohammed. The question is, please share about aluminum barrier-based laminate recycling technology. Mohammed, please.
Thank you, Winnie. The ability to recycle aluminum barrier-based laminates will depends very much on the recycling technology. More so, you'll find that each location or each country, each recycler will have their own technology. Okay, so it depends very much on the technology available in your location. But from my experience, we're working with a few recyclers. They will be able to recycle metallized film or aluminum barrier-based laminates. Okay, the question will be the yield. Okay, how much yield that you can derive from your recycling process. So as I say, it goes back to the technology that is available. Okay, I hope that answered the question. Back to you, Winnie.
Yes, thank you, Mohammed. And here's the question for Mark. The question is post-consumer recycled 100% replacement for virgin material without compromise to quality? Mark, please.
Well, I don't think 100%. You always have especially mechanical recycling, you have a bit of a mix of materials you have additional processing or reprocessing of materials. So you always have a bit of downgrading, and these impurities and that downgrading makes that PCR from mechanical recycling is typically not the same quality as virgin material. That's also why you see that in many cases, PCR is blended or compounded with virgin material to achieve a certain performance. So I think that is why the mechanical recycling route does not give you 100% the same quality. That is different with advanced recycling, because there you really go back to the same polymer with the same properties. So only products from chemical recycling are really 100% the same as fossil-based material.
I see. Thank you, Mark. Another question for Mohammed. The question is, what are the barrier properties of PE or PP structures compared with multi-material, multi-layer conventional packaging? Mohammed, please.
Yeah. Thanks, Winnie. It's a quite difficult question to answer, but there are many technologies available now. As I say, for the past few years, the industry has been working towards replacing multi-material with monomaterial. So there are technology involved, and I can see that even the monomaterial that we ourselves produce now, it can be as good, on par, or some even better, depending on your benchmarking barrier compared to the multi-material. Okay, so it depends what is your benchmark. Are you comparing to aluminum foil base? Are you comparing to metallized polyester base? But I think the solution now is very near. Okay, we can always have solution. Okay, for 95%, 98% of the time. Okay, back to you, Winnie.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. And another question from Mark. The question is, there is no mention of post-industrial recycling. May I know, will post-industrial recycling have as much as impact as post-consumer recycling? Mark, please.
Okay, thank you, Winnie. Post-industrial recycling is typically already adopted big time. Also in the video that we have just seen, you clearly see that the materials recycled are from post-industrial use. Typically, they are less contaminated. They are more monomaterial streams. So post-industrial materials typically already are being consumed and turned back into recycled materials. That is not so much the case for post-consumer. So post-consumer materials pose more challenges. In the case of post-industrial, you often talk about scrap or return materials that are still clean, unused, and easier to use. So a big difference between the two. I think the big challenge going forward is to use all the post-consumer materials, to collect them and to get them back into the materials chain. I think that is the big challenge that we stand for.
I see. Thank you, Mark. And another question for Rachel. Does China have tax incentives for recycling efforts? Rachel, please.
Thank you, Winnie. Tax will play a very important role in China to strengthen energy resource conservation and environmental protection in the future. There has always been a tax preference for resource recycling. We also call it green tax. So we do all efforts to support the development and utilization of renewable energy. Thank you. Back to Winnie.
Thank you, Rachel. And thank you all for participating. Due to time constraint, this is the end of our Q&A section. Once again, thank you, Hanky, Mohammed, Rachel, and Mark being with us today. If you have any questions and would like to get in touch, please leave your questions and contact email in the Zoom chat box. We will follow up with you soon after the webinar. Last but not least, we are excited to share with you our new sourcing platform, CPS Plus e-Marketplace. It is the specialized online sourcing and business matching platform, serving global buyers of plastics and rubber technologies. It is where you can find the latest, hottest, and full variety of production solutions by over 4,000 technology makers. Let us know your sourcing requests and enjoy the free matching service provided by us. CPS Plus e-Marketplace will be launched in January 2022. Stay tuned. Here, we have come to the end of this webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And within the next few days, the playback of this webinar will be available on CHINAPLAS website. You're very welcome to visit our website to replay today's webinar. When you leave this webinar, please fill in a short first survey for your feedback. Have a good day. See you.